Hello BookTube. This is a shelf tour, the 9th bookcase. It's a continuation of the last. This is the first shelf of that bookcase. And American literature to start with. The first shelf we're doing actually continues the last shelf of bookcase 8. This is a series of 3 bookcases on one wall, so they sort of run like that type of thing. So we'll continue on with John Updike. Get rid of my glasses here. So we have The Afterlife and Other Stories. And this is Alfred A. Knopf, New York, 1994. Then we have a famous Updike novel, The Witches of Eastwick. And this one is a Borzoi book, Alfred A. Knopf, 1984. And then the Rabbit novels, Rabbit Angstrom, the 4 novels, Robert Updike. This is Every Man's Library. And this was published It's a Borzoi book published by Alfred A. Knopf. This is the 3rd printing of the 1995 single volume edition. So it includes Rabbit Run, Rabbit Redo, Rabbit is Rich, and Rabbit is Rest. So is one of his more famous works. Then we're going to go to somebody different. This is a book I really enjoyed. The Colossus of Mariucci by Henry Miller. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correct. A little bit of glare today. We actually have some sunshine out today, which is nice. This is a New Directions paperback. Originally 1941. This is the 23rd printing, so we're not even close to 1941 on this. So from the back it says, this is a book about Greece by the author of the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn is incandescent with his feeling for a great people in their past. It doesn't seem far from a miracle to me, the emergence of as friendly and joyful a book. That was what Paul Rosenfield said. The Colossus of Mariucci is probably unlike anything else ever written about Greece before. He, Miller, is a natural-born writer and he sees things as nobody else sees them. Edmund Wilson. So I read this quite a few years ago, but I really enjoyed it. That was a good book. Then I have a volume where I read it ages ago, but I did not read this edition, and this edition is different. And that's On the Road, the original scroll, Jack Kerouac. My cat's over there at the window growling or something. I read this year when I was a teenager. This one's Viking, what's the date on this one? 2007. I read it in a paperback when I was in high school and really was influenced and impressed by it. And I got this volume because my old one was gone. And I thought, oh, that's sort of neat, the original scroll. You can see him with the scroll there on the back. But to tell you the truth, I never really went back and reread it. And I don't know if I will or not. We'll see. Then here's a bit of a blast from the past, and a writer I always enjoyed. He's not always everyone's taste, although he's quite popular in his own lifetime, and that's James Michener. Here's his novel Chesapeake. There he is. And this is a, well, here's the end paper showing the map of the Chesapeake, where I spent quite a bit of time. Random House, New York, 1978 first edition. Here's his Tales of the South Pacific. This is a reprint meant to look like the original, I believe. I don't know if they put, yeah, it'll say 1947. And if you looked at it, you'd think, wow, you know, it's a reprint. It's intentionally done that way. And then here's one of his travel books, Iberia, Spanish Travels and Reflections. No dust jacket on this one. I always liked Mishner. My favorites, and I don't have them, I would have to pick The Source. It's like an archaeological dig in Israel type of thing, and he spans time. He goes through time, and they're historical novels in the big sense that they go through vast amounts of history. I also like Centennial. So then we'll get on to another author here who I've got a pretty good collection of. There's a few I'd like to add to it, and I'd like to add in the same edition, and that's these. These are William Morrow editions. You can see them here, and it's Ray Bradbury. So this is October Country. Something Wicked This Way Comes. The Illustrated Man. Dandelion Wine. And The Martian Chronicles. One thing you can see I'm missing right here, the volume I'd really like to get, is Fahrenheit 451 in this series. So we'll see if I can find it. I like the hardcovers. I've had so many paperbacks over the years, and they get so beat up. But these nice hardbacks, they're pretty neat. So I was glad to find them. And moving right along, we have a journal of Joyce Carol Oates from 73 to 82. When I first read her, I can't remember, maybe they have it listed. I actually think it was a short piece, though. I read something she did on boxing that I thought was unbelievable. And I've dipped in and out of this journal, but I really have not read a lot of hers. And oh yeah, on boxing. I guess it was a whole book, 1987. Maybe I can find that again. That's and this is her journals, but the boxing stuff was good. It was good. Then there's a book we've seen, a novel we've seen on this channel before, A Prayer for Owen Meany. Always struggled with this a little. I like The World According to Garp, which I don't own, but The Prayer for Owen Meany, because of its similarity, and I hear now it was intentional, to Gunter Grass's Tin Drum, sort of threw me a little bit. And another novel and novelist I usually enjoy, and that's E.L. Doctorow, Billy Bathgate. And this is 1989, and it's Random House, New York. Open this book and enter through his own words the perilous, thrilling word of Billy Bathgate, the brazen boy who has insinuated himself into the inner circle of the notorious Dutch Schultz gang to become good luck charm, apprentice, and finally protege to one of the great murdering gangsters of all time. Hey. Then another one here, Gore Vidal. I used to own more of Gore Vidal's historical novels. This is Empire, and this is Random House, New York, 1987. So a whole series there, Washington, D.C., Burr, 1876, and Lincoln. You also see mentioned on BookTube his great volume of essays, which I used to own too, the United States. Or USA, I can't remember what it was. But I need to get my collection of his stuff back up. I have not read some of his his older historical novels, like in the ancient world and stuff. So something to look forward to. Gore Vidal. Then we'll go here. This is Peter Mathiasen. I used to live down in that part of Florida where this takes place. This is Peter Mathiasen, Shadow Country, a new rendering of the Watson legend, Modern Library, New York, 2008. So this, Killing Mr. Watson, Lost Man's River, and Bone by Bone, was originally, they were published separately, and they were originally conceived as a single epic novel, and then they've been published that way here. Inspired by a near mythic event of the wild Florida frontier at the turn of the 20th century, Shadow Country reimagines the legends of the inspired Everglades sugar planter and notorious outlaw E.J. Watson, who drives himself relentlessly towards his own violent end at the hands of neighbors who mostly admired him, and a killing that obsessed his favorite son. This is quite a book. Then we'll finish up the first shelf with a single author here, and that is Helene Hanff. Many of you know who she is. And of course there's 84 Charing Cross Road, which is also a wonderful movie starring Anne Bancroft and Anthony Hopkins, among others, James Judi Dench. So this is a Penguin Books edition, and this originally came out in '70, and this is nowhere near that old, I don't think. So it's a novel in letters. I don't know, it's not even really a novel. I'll just read it to you. This charming classic, first published in 1970, brings together 20 years of correspondence between Helene Hanff, freelance writer living in New York City, and a used book dealer in London. That would be Frank Dole. Through the years, though never meeting and separated both geographically and culturally, they share a winsome, sentimental friendship based on their common love for books. Their relationship, captured so acutely in these letters, is one that will grab your heart and not let go. So, yeah, it's not a novel. I don't know why I said that, but this set of letters is really something. So that's how I first found out. I actually saw the movie first. Then we ran out and found the book, which was easy to do. You can find it pretty easily. Loved both. So then I started hunting up some of the author's other works. And then you have here Q's Legacy, Helene Hanff. Let's see if you can see that. A delightful account of a lifelong love affair with books, another Penguin. This one's listed as an autobiography. Let's see. And this, 1985. So let's see here. Here is the remarkable story of how Helene Hanff came to write 84 Charing Cross Road and all the things its success has brought her. Hanff recalls her serendipitous discovery of a volume of lectures by a Cambridge Don, Sir Arthur Quiller Couch. She devoured Q's book, and wanting to read all the books he recommended, began to order them from a small store in London at 84 Charing Cross Road. Thus began a correspondence that became an enormously popular book, play, and television production, and that finally led to the trip to England and a visit to Q's study that she recounts here. In this exuberant memoir, Hanff pays her debt to her mentor and shares her joyous adventures with her many fans. It's a great little book. And these are small little things, both that. Then we have Helene Hanff, a Duchess of Blueberry Street. You can see I got a little carried away. I went out and found everything I could, right? And this is Moyer Bell, Wakefield, Rhode Island, in London, in 1973. This is the zesty sequel to 84 Charing Cross Road. Celebrated author Helene Hanff finally travels to England to meet her cherished correspondent of 20 years. A charming, colorful Penguin work for bookmen, travelers, Anglophiles, lover of anecdotes, and all those who think the world is becoming impersonal and cold. So, actually there's one more. Helene Hanff, Letter from New York. And this one is Aurum Press, and it is 1992. This is Letter from New York, BBC's Woman Hour broadcast. For 6 years, Helene Hanff held BBC radio audiences captive with her monthly broadcasts on Women's Hour. In 5-minute vignettes, she conveyed in her own witty style the ups and downs of life in a high-rise apartment building, the last small town in America, at the heart of New York City. She talks of Bentley, the old English sheepdog who stole the show at her neighbor's New Year's Eve party, of the regeneration of the Shakespeare Garden in Central Park, and of the delights of the summer concerts on the park's Sheep Meadow, of the ethnic parades down Fifth Avenue, especially the St. Patrick's Day parade, when all New York turns green. We meet Arlene, Helene's high-flying friend, whose social life and wardrobes puts Hamp's tiny apartment and simple writer's life into perspective. We walk through Nina's garden, 16 stories up, which overflows with flowers, orange, and apple trees. And we join the author as she prepares to fly to London to realize a lifelong dream on the opening night of the play, Area 84 Charing Cross Road at the Ambassador Theatre. Letter from New York is a delight to read, the beguiling, funny, touching tale of everyday life in the great city. So this is the only hardbound volume I have out of all hers, and which is fine. These are fun little reads. Highly recommend them, especially 84 Charing Cross Road. And Q, I think. I really like that one too. I like them all. So that is Bookshelf 9. We did the entire first shelf. You see me looking over there because that's where it is. And we'll move on to Bookshelf 2. Thank you, BookTube.